Welcome to Canada's Court. I'm your host, Philip Drost, and it's another exciting year for Bridget Carleton. The Canadian basketball star is getting ready for her sixth year in the WNBA and her second Olympic Games. Bridget Carleton joins me on the podcast today. Bridget, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
It's been a busy year for you. You've got the Olympics coming up. You've got the WNBA. You're still playing in Europe right now. Are you going to have any chance to rest over the next few months, or is it just going to be go, go, go?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's kind of the lifestyle of a women's basketball player who play year round. Not everyone does, but I choose to. And it's fun to be so busy all the time, but it does get to be a lot. I will get some time, a couple days at home in between my Europe season and before I go to Minnesota. But then it's like Minnesota, WNBA, right into the Olympics. So it will for sure be busy. So when I do get a chance to relax and spend some time at home with my family, I will definitely embrace that fully.
What do you do when you finally get a chance to relax? Is it just like literally do nothing or hang out with family? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's literally nothing. Well, hanging out with my family.
Yeah.
Spending time with them, but just like in the comfort of our own home and having dinners and things like that. But just sitting in a room and hanging out with them. And that's kind of my comfort zone. That's my happy place, being with them. So definitely nothing after that.
No having to get on a plane, no having to get on a bus, just relax. That sounds nice.
Yeah.
You've had a great season so far in Hungary as one of the top scorers in the league. You actually made history the other day when you scored 41 points. That's the most by any player in the women's Euroleague in the last 2 decades. Third most all time. I watched a little bit of the game. You were literally draining threes right from the tip off. Take me back to the night. When did you realize, okay, I've got it tonight?
Yeah, that was a fun game. It's funny because I look back and that day, like I wasn't feeling the best. Like I was pretty tired. It had been we were playing twice a week for a number of weeks at that point. I was feeling tired. I didn't even have the best warm up. Like I wasn't shooting that well. And I was like, okay, let me just get this out. Let's start the game and kind of see what happens. And like you said, I scored the first three right after the tip, 4 seconds into the game, and I was like, okay, I'll be okay this game. Didn't think it was gonna be that good, but yeah, when the shots are falling, my teammates were finding me, and some kind of crazy plays. I got fouled on a half court shot and made 3 free throws. Things like that kind of happened. It was one of those games where everything good was going my way, but it was a lot of fun, and we got the win, so that was important too.
Yeah, it couldn't have been too much more efficient. You were 8 of 10 from 3. I think it's 41 points on 15 shots is pretty impressive. How does it feel to be in the record books like that?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, playing in Europe especially, there's so many great players that play over here. A lot of obviously Europeans, but also a lot of Americans, Canadians that play over here. And the Euroleague is one of the best leagues in the world. It's so many different styles of play. So many great athletes, so many veterans that have been playing in the league for a really long time. Olympians, we're talking, some really, really great players. So just experiencing that and then being able to kind of be in the record books for that fun game was pretty cool. I like to, I made my mark at Iowa State and NCAA, and, I'm doing my thing in the WNBA, and now to have a career in Europe is super fun.
That's awesome. I think one of the really, we talked about how busy this lifestyle is, but I think maybe one of the positives, other than, getting to play a sport you love, is the fact that you really get to see a lot of different places in the world. Has there been a favorite kind of either city you visited or a country you've gone to where you're like, oh, I can't believe I get to do this for my job?
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard to pick. I mean, it's just being able to, I've played for 5 years overseas. This is my 5th year and I've played in 5 different countries. So I've seen a lot of the world, and we've traveled obviously within one season. You kind of travel to different countries too in the EuroLeague. So it's been incredible. My favorite is probably Spain. I think just because I've met some really awesome people there and built a community there, and the weather was amazing. It's this time of year, it's you go sit on the patio and it's sunny and you can get a tan, and I really enjoyed their lifestyle. But again, Budapest is an amazing city, and I've lived really close to there. Vienna, Austria is a really crazy city, and I live an hour from there right now. So, I've played in Australia. I was living on the beach in the winter. It was winter in Canada, but it was summer in Australia. So pictures to my parents on the beach while they were in a snowstorm, things like that. It's just incredible. people, the people you get to meet, the getting fully like embraced in the culture, and you see it. Visiting is nice, but when you're like fully immersed in it for long periods of times, it's different, and you get a real feeling for like what every country is like and how different it is.
When you're going between all these countries, Australia, obviously, you already got English down pat, but are you picking up bits and pieces of the language when you go there, or is it all kind of blend together at this point?
Oh, I mean, Hungarian is very challenging. I don't think like it's really hard to learn. I know like how to say hello and thank you, and that's about it. Spanish, no, I can learn a little bit. It's similar to like the French, and obviously it has some English in there too. But yeah, Hungarian is really difficult, so I kind of stick to my basics. And hopefully other people speak English, which a lot of people do, thankfully.
That's good. That's good. You mentioned how much you enjoyed Spain. We'll get to another reason why you might like Spain in a little bit here when we talk about the Olympic qualifiers. But just to get back to the WNBA for a minute, your season, as you said, starts in about a month and a half or so. What made you decide to re-sign with the Minnesota Lynx? You've obviously been there since 2019. What is it that's kind of keeping you around there?
I think it's the culture and the relationships I've built. I've enjoyed my time in Minnesota, and they put trust in me. They took a chance on me when I was a rookie after I got cut from the Connecticut Sun. When I got drafted to Connecticut, was there for a couple weeks, and then got cut. And Minnesota picked me up, took a chance, and they liked me. And they've had faith in me and trusted me from that point. They believed in me, so I really appreciate them for that. And I've built really great relationships with them because of that. And the culture just around Minnesota. I mean, my teammates are some amazing people that I've grown really close to. The coaching staff is incredible. Our assistants are some of the greatest players to ever have played in the W, and Katie Smith and Rebecca Brunson. So it's just been really great. It's kind of like my home away from home at this point. Definitely explore the market a bit, as all free agents do, and you got to kind of see what else is out there. And a business is a business, and you never know what's going to happen. But I was really happy that it kind of worked out both ways. They wanted me, I wanted to stay, and we got it done.
You mentioned Connecticut. Actually, at the end of your last season was a playoff series with Connecticut. Unfortunately, you didn't get the victory, but you played really well in that series. What was it like to play well against a team that did cut you, and now you're playing for the other team?
Yeah, it's pretty weird at times. I think the first couple of years it was a little more weird, but now, I mean, it's been a few years later. It's normal. The teams change, the coach isn't the same, things like that. But yeah, it was good to play well in a playoff series against a really good Connecticut Sun team. We're sad, obviously, we didn't get to go to the next round, but we fought hard, and I think we're proud, and we'll learn from it. We were a really young team last year, and I think we'll be able to build on that going forward.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about that. What are you hoping both yourself and the team accomplish in the upcoming year?
For us, playoffs is always the minimum. We always want to make the playoffs in a 12-team league, and it's super competitive, and every win is important. But definitely make the playoffs and hopefully go on a run. There's obviously some really great teams, and it's so hard. Every offseason teams change so much, so it's hard to know like what you're going to look like, how you're going to play, and you kind of figure it out as the season goes on. But we're excited. We got some good free agents in the offseason, and some great players returning, and some rookies that are now going to be in their second year. So I like, our core and where we're at, and so hopefully we can make a run in the playoffs this year.
Awesome. Let's talk about what I alluded to a few minutes ago, which was the insane Olympic qualifiers that you guys went through. I assume that wasn't exactly how you expected things to go. For listeners who don't know, Canada qualified. The qualification came down to a game between Spain and Hungary. Spain needing to win for Canada to qualify. Spain went down 22 points, yet pulled off the victory. Take me through, watching that game and what that experience was like, because that's a little bit unique.
Yeah, it was very challenging. I mean, coming off, the lowest of lows, we lost to Japan and that day. And if we had won that game, we would have qualified automatically. That was what we would have liked to do, kind of controlling our own destiny. But Japan's a really, really good team. We lost. It was a close game. We ended up losing by 4 or 5, I think. So we were hurt. I really wasn't even thinking about the Spain-Hungary game until I got back to the hotel. I was just trying to process everything that had just happened and the missed opportunity that fell through our fingers, you can say. Yeah, and then we checked the score, and when they were down, I think we got back to the hotel. Luckily, my mom was there watching us, and so I had her to lean on and to vent to, and to have someone that close to me there was really helpful in that moment, because it was a hard moment. Like, it was really the lowest of lows. Something we're expected to make the Olympics every 4 years. This has become the standard for women's basketball in Canada. So, feeling like we had let down our team, our coaches, the country, that was really hard. So I was really happy to have my mom with us. And then a couple of my teammates came to my room to watch the game. And when Spain was down 22, it was like, we honestly weren't even paying attention to the game, really. Like, we were just kind of like talking loosely, like just kind of enjoying time together, and being with each other in that moment was really nice to have each other to lean on. And then slowly, like, Spain started creeping back into the game, and we're like, guys, I think this might happen. Like, it was 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it was like a 2 or 3 possession game, and I was like, okay, like, this is a game now. Like, we actually have a chance. So then things got stressful, because I think when they were down 22, we were like, okay, like, let's already start to process what's going to happen. Like, we're not going to go to the Olympics. That was already like in our mind. And then when the game got close, it was stressful. Natalie's baby was in the room with us, and we were screaming, and then he would start crying. And like, no, what's happened to you? Like, it was so emotional, but I'm glad our team got to experience that together. And obviously, again, like you said, it wasn't the way we had planned or hoped to, but lesson learned. I think it was a really hard pool, like Spain, Japan, and Hungary, who's a team on the rise. So, we were able to make it. We did it. It doesn't matter how we did it, and now our focus is on Paris.
Does it give you any sort of, I mean, the Olympics are the Olympics, but does it give you sort of any extra motivation how that tournament ended to, like, really, go to the Olympics and prove, like, it may have ended in a bit of a weird way, but we deserve to be here. This is not a fluke.
Yeah, 100%. I think, for us ourselves, that's not how we wanted to qualify. We wanted to, control our destiny. So we want to prove that we deserve to be there. We know we can learn a lot from the February window, that qualification tournament, and, be a better team in Paris because of it. So I think we can all look inward, and then as a team, and I know our coaching staff's doing the same thing. So we will be a better team because of it. And I think, yeah, like, we will prove that we deserve to be at the Olympics. We are ranked 5th in the world for a reason. We deserve to be, 12 teams that are at the Olympics consistently every 4 years. So, yeah, I think we'll definitely prove that in Paris.
One of the things I've joked is that maybe Canada might be a little thankful that they hired Victor LaPena, given that he is from Spain and spent so much time with that program. I don't know if he sent any texts or anything to any of his former colleagues, but that is not the worst thing, because for to be realistic, Spain didn't need to win that game, right? Which was kind of the interesting thing. They'd already qualified, but they still fought hard and came away with the win.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I mean, I have some teammates, actually, some old teammates that are on the Spanish national team. And so I didn't text them before the game because I was processing my own thoughts and feelings. But then after the game, when they won, we all were staying at the same hotel. So I gave them a big hug, and I was like, thank you. But yeah, we definitely have some connections with the Spanish team. We have a history with them, a rivalry almost brewing with the Spanish national team. They've gotten the better end of it for a couple of years, but we're close. I mean, we only lost to them by 4 or 5 points in the qualifier, so it's definitely a good relationship with them, but definitely some competitive fire as well. So it's funny, and it's fun to be a part of.
I know it's a little cliche when you go to the Olympics. Usually, people say, our goal is just to take it a game at a time, but beyond, just trying to play each game the best. Do you have any goals for yourself or for the team as you get ready for this Olympic Games?
I think, I mean, we haven't talked about it as a team yet. I think, when we get together in May, we will start those goals. But I think it's well known that, we want to be in the medal rounds. The last Olympics, we didn't make the quarterfinal games by a point differential spread. It's kind of a weird situation where there's 3 pools. So then point differential becomes a big part of who qualifies for the quarterfinals. And so we missed out on that by a few points in Tokyo. So I think, learning that lesson, we definitely want to make the quarterfinals of this Paris Olympics, and then hopefully win our quarterfinal game. That's always, the big game that everyone wants to win to get into the medal rounds. So that's definitely our goal. We came 4th last year, or a couple years ago at the World Cup, and so that's kind of the standard we've set. And that's kind of what we want to uphold going in this summer.
What does it mean for you? This is your second time getting to go to the Olympics. What does it mean for you to get to represent Canada at that highest level?
It's surreal. I mean, I always think back to when I was a kid, and my family obviously loves sports, every kind of sport. And when the Olympics is on, it's the Olympics is on all the time, no matter what the sport is. Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, it's always just on our TV 24/7. So I remember as a kid just loving watching the Olympics and wanting to be a part of that, and knowing I had a love and passion for basketball, knowing that I wanted to represent Canada through basketball at the Olympics, and to be able to do it not only once but twice coming up here soon, it's just surreal, and that my family gets to experience that with me. It's incredible, and I know in the moment it doesn't feel as big as it is, but like looking back when it's like a year later, 2 years later, I think, I've worked really hard for it, and to help Canada get to where it is, and we all have worked really hard to get Canada to where we are. So I think it's what we deserved. We worked for this, and it's super special. It's like every athlete's dream, to represent your country at the Olympics, and so it's really, really special.
Is there anything you learned off the court, just from the Olympic experience that first time around, that you feel like will help you as you get ready to go again?
Yeah, I think the Olympics is such like a unique environment in the athletes' village, and you're playing like you have 2 days in between games, so the games are pretty spread out. It's only 3 games in the round robin stage, and then you could be done, or you qualify for the quarterfinals. So it's very you need to be locked in for a long period of time in an environment where there's many distractions. In an athlete village, you're at the Olympics, media is there. There's so many opportunities to do different things. So I think having Tokyo under my belt, even though it was during the pandemic and it was a little unique situation where you couldn't really interact with other athletes or do as many things in the public, I think still having that experience will help us in Paris. And a lot of players who will be in Paris were in Tokyo. So I think we'll all lean on those experiences. And I think my leadership will come out because I have that experience and have stepped into more of that role on the team.
I recently did an interview with Coach LaPena where he talked about the challenge of having so many players who have so many commitments, from European teams to the WNBA to college. How do you kind of balance all those teams, because they're all important for you, I'm sure, in different ways?
Yeah, it's challenging, especially Victor's our national team coach, and that's his main focus. But then he has players who are playing in the NCAA, but then also play for the national team, and players like me who are playing overseas and in the WNBA, and then also playing for the national team. And there's a number of other situations, and everyone's situation is unique to them. So then when we all do come together for 2 weeks before we compete at the biggest tournament that there is for athletics, we have to figure out how to mesh and work together and perform at a high level under pressure, under high expectations. So it's challenging, and that's why Victor has that job, and he's one of the best to figure it out and to be able to do it in a timely manner. But again, we've built relationships with each other as teammates. This isn't just a 1-year process. There's a group of us who have been together for a really long time, and even some young kids who have been in and out. We have built relationships with them, so there's a trust there. And then, when it comes onto the court, the first practice might not be the best, but we get back to the flow of things, and we all kind of forget about the other teams we've been on and what our roles are on that team, and then focus in on the national team and what our roles are there. So it's definitely challenging, but I think we're all professionals in that sense, and we know kind of how the national team works and what our main goal is as a team. So it's kind of narrowing in on one day at a time, and doing what we do with our overseas team, with our NCAA team, but then when it's time for the national team, it's time for the national team.
Let's talk a bit about the WNBA. You got a chance to play in the first ever WNBA game in Toronto. I was there at the game. The stands were full. There was tons of fans, tons of supportive signs. It was a really great, really fun crowd. What was that experience like for you?
That was also crazy. Especially, I had just come back from overseas. That game, I think, was the second week of May. The week prior, I had come back from Spain, finishing that season. So it was a whirlwind. First of all, probably jet lagged, and then getting into trying to figure out our plays, trying to figure out my new teammates, and then 2 days later, flying to Toronto, where I'm going to see so many people I know, and embracing that, a lot of media attention, and the excitement around basketball in Toronto and being kind of the face for that. It was a lot. It was pretty overwhelming, but I had amazing teammates in Minnesota that were helping me along the way, and my coaches. It was great. But yeah, the support for women's basketball in Toronto was. I always knew that people love basketball, like especially with the rise of the Raptors and after their championship in 2019, you could feel the excitement around like basketball culture in Toronto and Canada. But to be there and to see it firsthand, and women's basketball specifically, that was really, really cool and special. And I am honored that I was a part of that, and that my whole family could kind of see that too, which was really, really cool.
When you were on the court, did you get a moment to kind of soak in, the young girls in the audience, all the fans, all the people, like completely full. It was packed. Did you have a moment to kind of just soak it in and like take a look at that?
Yeah, I think when I got on the microphone right before the game, I was like, I knew I was going to do that. I was told, like, as we were getting on the bus towards the game, that I was going to speak. I was like, okay, that's a little nerve-wracking. A lot of people there. But then when I was handed the microphone, I was like, oh, wow, there is a lot of people here. And seeing some familiar faces was calming and helpful. But that's when I really took in, like, how many people, how many amazing young girls and boys there were cheering us on. There was a lot of Minnesota Lynx #6 t-shirts in the crowd. Real. Yeah, that was incredible. And then I thankfully got out my words. And they all made I didn't stumble over any, but that was a pretty cool moment.
There's been a lot of discussion about having a WNBA franchise in Toronto. What do you think it would mean for the sport here in Canada for Toronto to have its own team?
I think it would be, for Canada as a whole, having a women's professional basketball team would make such a difference in terms of just what young girls, what young boys could see for themselves. I never even dreamed of playing in the WNBA because I didn't see it. You don't really hear about it when I was growing up, especially because social media wasn't as big and it wasn't on TV and things like that. Like I watched some NBA, I watched college basketball, usually college basketball. And then I just knew my mom was a good player herself. So I kind of just wanted to be like her, and that's all I knew. So to have someone or a team in your backyard that, is grown women playing basketball and making a living playing basketball, I think will do so many great things for a community and young women, young girls to strive to do and be whoever they want to be. And that it'll bring so much, not just that to the city in terms of there's other jobs that go along with, a franchise. There's management roles, there's advertising roles, there's so many great things that come through sport. So I think it would be incredible.
And it really feels like over the past year, there has been such a great momentum for the sport. I mean, I think about, the NBA All-Star game, Sabrina Ionescu being a big part of that. And, this year, one of the big things, we're recording this at the end of March here, is Caitlin Clark. She's by far the biggest name in college basketball right now, men's or women's, and she's getting ready to enter the WNBA. What's it been like watching the hype specifically around Caitlin Clark? It's really kind of taken on this life of its own that you haven't seen in the sport as much.
Yeah, I think it's so great, first of all, that Caitlin is doing an amazing job, obviously on the court and being the spectacular basketball player she is, and the athlete she is. But then she's being able to handle the off-court stuff too, and handle that with so much maturity as a college athlete. When she's, with the new NIL deals, you're on commercials now, you're getting handed money, but you also still have to go to school and you still have to perform at that level. There's so many things being thrown at her, but she's handled it with so much grace. So I have so much respect for her and how she's been able to juggle everything. Seems to be pretty flawlessly at this point. I'm really excited for her to come to the W, and hopefully these college people who are following her in college continue to follow her to the WNBA. And I think they will, because they want to see an athlete like that perform at the next level, and hopefully that open more eyes to the WNBA. It's cool. I mean, there's so many great personalities in college women's basketball, and I think that's starting to show. Like, we're not just athletes; we have interests and hobbies outside of the court too, and I think fans are attracted to that and they can relate to those kinds of things, and that's creating even more of a fan base. So it's fun to watch, and I'm excited for the next steps for them, and especially Caitlin coming into the W, even though I don't think she'll be on the Minnesota Lynx, but hopefully we can get
You'll play against her for sure at some point. Maybe
Yeah,
you'll get her, but yeah, I think you'll be playing against her. You'll be matching up.
yeah,
If not
for
that,
sure.
then maybe the Olympics. I don't know what their Olympic team is yet, but
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah, maybe. Who knows?
As we're talking about, the growth of the women's game as that continues, what more do you think needs to happen for that to continue?
I think right now, I used to answer this question and say just more, attention. We need more eyes
Mhm.
on us because once people see the product, they like it. Like it's very off. It's very rare that someone watches a game and they're just like, okay, this is boring. Like, no, give it a try and you'll like it. So I think now, our media deals are better. We are out in the media more. We're on TV more. So people are starting to follow. We have the following now. Now it's just about more investment in people with the big bucks, chiming in and getting a franchise in Toronto, getting another franchise. There's another franchise coming at Golden State in the W they announced next year. So things like that, I think, will continue to help the game grow. And then the franchises itself, I'm talking WNBA specific here,
Mhm.
continuing to the athletes that are there right now in terms of, our housing's great, our Minnesota Lynx facilities are great, but that's not the standard around the league. So just
Mhm.
getting things like that up to standard to what the NBA is, I think that's the next step, and then we'll only continue to grow from there.
We mentioned it's been since 2019. You've been in the league. Have you seen those kind of standards change over the years? With maybe you said the Lynx were great, but maybe with some of the other teams.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Lynx, we have the same ownership as the Timberwolves, so we share a facility there. So our facilities are great. Weight room, training, physios, all of that is really, really awesome. But not every WNBA team has that same luxury. But I have seen my first couple years in the league, like the New York Liberty were playing in Westchester, New York, which was they're called the New York Liberty, but they weren't even playing in New York City, downtown Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. So things like that. I mean, the Atlanta Dream, same thing. They have a really great culture in their arena. Where my first year in the league, they didn't get any fans, and now they're selling out their arena. So things like that, you can definitely feel the momentum and the entertainment factor is coming into play, and facilities and things like that. It's getting better and better.
Do you have a favorite arena so far to play in across the WNBA?
I really like playing at crypto.com now. It's the old Staples Center now,
Yeah.
crypto.com. Yeah, I seem to always shoot well there, so I'll say that one. And just the history behind that building, which is pretty cool. I like playing there.
Awesome, awesome. You'll get to see the new Kobe Bryant statue when you go there next time.
Yes. Yeah.
Although maybe it's a little offensive to any Raptors fans out there because it's from his 81-point game, which is a little tough for us to remember.
It's okay.
But
You have to respect the greats.
you do, absolutely. Well, Bridget, it was a real pleasure having you on the podcast, and we certainly look forward to seeing how your summer goes and cheering you on both with Minnesota and then of course with Team Canada. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.